X, Snap, and Discord, Mark Zuckerberg, the leader of Meta, told the families of abuse victims that he was sorry for everything you have all been through. Now, this apology came before an audience of parents at a Senate online child safety hearing. These parents say that Instagram contributed to their children's suicide or exploitation. The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on online child safety came to an end today with no clear resolutions in sight. And Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, a Republican, cast doubt today on passing a bipartisan tax bill, saying it would make President Joe Biden look good and improve Democrats' chances of holding the White House in the 2024 election. Grassley, saying the quiet part out loud, said that that passing this bill could help the reelection campaign of Joe Biden and hurt Republicans' hopes of extending Trump-era tax cuts. And the gender gap is growing between supporters of President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. Now, this is according to a new a new poll that's out of registered voters. All that's good news, of course, for the Democratic incumbent Joe Biden. This new poll says that Biden holds a slight lead over Trump. This is stunning news for Joe Biden because in the same matchup just months ago, a poll said it was too close to call. Now, more women said they would support Biden over Trump in this latest survey, with 58% of women backing Joe Biden compared to only 36% backing Donald Trump. And the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade have been subpoenaed to testify at a February 15th hearing about allegations that Willis has financially benefited from Nathan Wade, who, according to one of the defendants in the RICO case that's been filed against Donald Trump, alleges that Wade and Fani Willis are in a romantic relationship. Now, there was also some news that Wade's ex-wife and he have been able to resolve their divorce dispute, and that prevented Wade from being deposed in that matter. John Podesta, a Democratic political strategist and energy expert, will succeed John Kerry at a crucial time for President Biden's climate agenda. Now, this move comes at a crucial time as Biden is warning everyone about the effects of global warming and how it is slowing the Earth's ability to warm. The Earth's ability to warm is being impacted by global warming. The president is racing to finalize strong environmental regulations by the end of his current term, as Trump has vowed to undo many of these actions. And Colorado Secretary of State is asking the Supreme Court, that is the U.S. Supreme Court, to conclude that Colorado can lawfully bar Trump from the Republican primary ballot because of his actions in 2020 that culminated in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And I don't know if you've heard about the hoopla over Taylor Swift being at the NFL games and her relationship with an NFL player that's apparently a really good football player, the member of the Kansas City Chiefs, that's on their way to the Super Bowl. Well, a sports talk show host got in the fray today by saying that those folks who were complaining about Taylor Swift and her relationship with the Kansas City Chiefs player are just weird, lonely, and even insecure men. So we know it's Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift have announced pretty openly that they are in a relationship. And the MAGA crowd has lost its mind, come up with all of these conspiracy theories. But some folks in sports now are pushing back, saying that these are really weird attacks on Taylor Swift, and these men show that they resent women. Interesting. And in some final news today, the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees announced that they have scheduled a closed-door transcribed interview with President Joe Biden's brother, James Biden, and that interview is supposed to take place on February 21st. This is all part of a larger effort on the part of the Republicans to impeach Joe Biden, claiming that he somehow has benefited from his family's financial dealings. This is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. Today, joining me in this hour is Jamar Brown. He is a former executive director of the Texas Democratic Party, and he is now a Democratic strategist. Also in this hour, joining me as well is Lauren McKay. She is a 5-time Emmy Award-winning TV host, producer, and former journalist. So happy to have both of them joining me to help us make sense of today's news. And in hour two, we're continuing to follow a story that has captured major headlines, and we've talked about it a couple of times on this show. And it's the story of this 18-year-old African-American teenager in Houston who is set to go to trial next month because his school district says that the wearing of his dreadlocks violates their dress code policies. This 18-year-old young man and his mother are fighting back, claiming racial discrimination, also claiming violations of this student's First Amendment rights. He has not been in his regular classroom, this teenager, since August because the school has refused to allow him back into the classroom. Now, earlier this week, we had the 2 state senators from Texas who were responsible. One was the primary author and the other was a co-sponsor of the Texas's Crown Act. And that's a bill that many states and cities have passed that prevents discrimination for natural hairstyles in the workplace and in public schools. So in this hour, we're going to talk to a lawyer from the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. The Legal Defense Fund has jumped into this lawsuit, has written letters to the Secretary of Education for the state of Texas, and has also weighed in on its interpretation of the Crown Act in the state of Texas. And we're going to talk to this lawyer about what they think is really happening in the school district and how they think they can be helpful, particularly in terms of getting this young man, this 18-year-old man, back into his classroom. He has missed so much vital education time, and in a press conference just recently, he said he was ready to go back to school. So make sure you stick around for hour two because the Crown Act is not only in Texas, like I said, many states have similar piece of legislation. So you want to make sure you understand your rights and how to protect them. But before I bring in my guest, here's what I'm thinking in real time. So just recently, E. Jean Carroll, you know, the 80-year-old woman that has filed multiple lawsuits against Donald Trump, first for sexual assault and then for defamation. We know that she was awarded $83.3 million in damages in her recent defamation lawsuit against Trump, stemming from comments he made denying that he sexually assaulted her in the 1990s. So women around the country were celebrating this victory for Carol because it was really bigger than her. It was about women being believed. It was about women not having to follow some formulaic process in terms of reporting or not if they've been sexually assaulted, and being able to go into a court of law and tell your story, even if you didn't, check all the boxes that some folks, mostly men, think and used to hold women accountable to decades ago. So E. Jean Carroll, like any plaintiff that's won an $83 million judgment or verdict, plus the $5 million she'd already won, so close to $90 million, she's making her rounds on the cable station. She's making her rounds on morning shows. And Fox News has a story out today saying that E. Jean Carroll is facing this tremendous backlash. So I don't typically read Fox, but I wanted to see what they were talking about because I didn't know anyone that was outraged about her appearance. If anything, the women that I've been talking to have all commented on how confident and how great E. Jean Carroll looks and what a great spokesperson she is going to be for women, particularly in this election year. So I'm reading this article, and what the article essentially claims is that there's all this backlash because on Rachel Maddow's show the other night, she was asked a question about what she was going to do with the money. She had made some prior comments that she was going to use this money to help women, particularly those women who had been sexually assaulted. So when asked the question, on this cable show a couple of days ago, Eugene Carroll says she's going to go shopping and she might buy a penthouse and might buy a penthouse in France and go fishing in France, and jokingly said to the host of the show, do you want a penthouse or something to that effect? And immediately her attorney who was sitting next to her said, of course she's kidding. So from that comment, oh my God, the folks over at Fox are having a field day saying, how dare she make a joke about this money? This was a very serious case. And, this is evidence that this was just one big money grab, that she only filed these charges against Trump because she was out to get money. And here's the evidence, because she immediately said she was going shopping, buying a penthouse or a condo or something. And if she was really serious about helping women, of course, she would have had a more serious demeanor, and she would have immediately talked about all the charities she was going to donate her money to. And I'm just rolling my eyes as I'm reading this again, the hypocrisy of these folks on the right. How dare they try to make something of this woman, 80-year-old woman, who stood up to one of the most powerful men in this country, stood up and won. She has the right to say or do whatever she pleases. If she wants to take that money and burn it in a pot, that's her choice, that's her prerogative. If she wants to shop until she drops, that's her prerogative. If she wants to give it to charity, that's her prerogative as well. And this is more of men, particularly white men, trying to control women, not just our bodies, i.e., abortion rights, but everything that we do and say. Eugene Carroll doesn't owe it to Donald Trump or to Fox News or to any of their viewers to comport to some standard that they've set for her. So I say to you, Eugene Carroll, keep looking fabulous as you looked on every interview I've seen you on. Talk about your money and spending your money that you won in a court of law, however you choose. And already you've done so much for women just by having the guts and the courage to bring these lawsuits and then hiring those badass lawyers, females, that helped you win this enormous jury verdict against a former sitting president. So there you have it, Fox. Shop until you drop, Eugene Carroll. When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
5 minutes, King.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice. Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough and care enough and care enough and care enough.
Did you know COVID-19 vaccines have been updated this season? They're one of the best ways to help protect yourself against recent variants, and most people in the U.S. should continue to pay nothing out of pocket for COVID-19 vaccines. Uninsured or underinsured adults can receive them at no cost at participating Bridge program locations, and eligible children can receive them through the Vaccines for Children program at participating providers. For children, COVID-19 vaccines are at no cost, but there may be fees such as for the visit or administration. Book a vaccine option at schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Some people just know the best places to eat around town. Those are the people who know to choose Allstate. They know exactly where to go to get exactly what you're wanting. They know where to find the spiciest hot pot, the gooeyest brownies, and the tenderest, most flavorful portobello steak. Those people also know that safe drivers save 40% with Allstate.
Saving 40% is based on the national average premium savings for all state auto customers with a clean driving record versus those without. Savings vary by state and vary based on how you buy, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
My mom has taken up going to the park to practice yoga.
My dad's going to a club, but not a book club, a salsa club.
Finding new hobbies comes with age.
My mom has started getting lost and not knowing where she's going.
Becoming lost or disoriented doesn't. Confusion with time or place may be a sign of Alzheimer's. An early diagnosis can help improve the quality of life for your loved one. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the
We are back, and in this hour, Lauren McKay, 5-time Emmy Award-winning TV host, producer, and former journalist, is joining me. And we had a little mix-up, so Jamar Brown is not here. So it looks like Lauren is going to be girls' night, and you and I are going to hold it down, which is going to be pretty easy given your experience and your expertise. So thank you for joining me in this hour. I want to start, I am not a big sports fan, but something about this story with all of these folks coming for Taylor Swift over her relationship with Travis Kelce is really annoying me. And I'm going to read something from an article today. Sports talk show host Colin Cowherd put NFL watchers complaining about Taylor Swift on blast, calling them weird, lonely, insecure men who resent women. He said this on his Fox Sports broadcast just yesterday. He said the fact that the world's biggest pop star is dating a star tight end who had one of his greatest games ever, and a network puts them on the air briefly, that it bothers you. What does that say about your life? And then another host went on to say that Trump, who's joined in this attack on Taylor, ought to be careful because he may awaken the Swifties and get them engaged and send them out to the polls to vote for Joe Biden, who we know is courting her endorsement. And this whole attack on her by the MAGA crowd could backfire on Republicans. What do you make of these, as Colin calls them, weird, lonely people who are attacking Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce?
First of all, I love that Colin came to her defense, especially being a well-respected sports host. Sometimes in the field of sports, sometimes it does take the opposite sex to say, "Hey guys, you're being sexist. Do you not see this?" So I think that's great that he did call them out. But I think at the end of the day, it's the I feel like Republicans, MAGA, they all kind of respond, and I hate to say all, but the rhetoric is very like defense. So we're afraid that Taylor Swift, because of her popularity and her liberal views, she's going to endorse Biden and I'll get all these young voters. And so it's very much almost to me, I'm like, why are you so, if you're the team to be on, if you are the people to take the votes, why are you so insecure that this pop star could take all your little votes?
It's really, I love what you said about Colin calling out calling out men and pointing out how sexist it is, because David Letterman and others, I'm just reading this list of men who have said, Pat McAfee, have all come to the rescue saying, what are you all upset about? Like, they flash their picture for a couple of seconds or minutes. The man's entitled to date. He happens to date this big star. Why are you trying to make more of this? There are all these conspiracy theories that she's some kind of Pentagon plant, that this is all somehow related to COVID vaccines. I mean, the theories are just bizarre. And I would imagine as we get closer to the Super Bowl, we're just going to see them magnified. But I do think this is a sign of desperation on the part of Republicans. They're really nervous, and they know. I mean, they watched this woman have, millions and millions of people travel around the world to see her in concert. So I think they do have a good sense, Lauren, about what she might be able to unleash if she does endorse Joe Biden.
I mean, look, Beyonce and Taylor Swift, those are the two concerts that everyone went to this past summer. And she does have a huge following. But honestly, I think this is the way they're speaking about Taylor Swift is not something that we have not seen spoken about women in the sports field in general. And she's just dating the guy. I mean, Erin Andrews has come under fire when she first started. Joy Taylor. I mean, it's the epitome of being in the men's locker room. And it's like, we're here, so get used to it. And she's just dating the guy. But also someone brought this, I'm a sports fan. I'm Cleveland Browns. So, we know sports and we also know heartbreak. But, I was talking to someone about this and they had brought up all the conspiracies out there. And my counter argument was, well, didn't the Patriots win how many years in a row?
Was that
I'm gonna
because
just
of
leave it
some
there.
Pentagon? Was that a Pentagon plant or something?
Is that a Pentagon plant? Was Tom Brady a Pentagon plant for all the Patriot wins that the Patriots got?
See, they don't, the argument for them only goes one way. See, they don't take into consideration that, as you just said, we can conjure up all kinds of theories if we were really going to be fair about this. And I think the other thing that's so clear about this, not only is Taylor a pop star, Taylor is an economic juggernaut. I mean, she can move economies. And I know there has to be so many men who are jealous of her, angry about that. I mean, she controls her narrative. Her marketing is something we've never seen before. Like I said, her and Beyonce have just proven that, they can take an entertainment career and transcend what we've ever seen really in this industry. So I think there's a lot of hatred being directed at her because of her economic power as well, which is, she could buy, she could literally buy the team. She could be in the owner's box. That's how big of a baller she is now because of her concert, the movies, and what she's been able to build in her brand. And that's very intimidating to a lot of these weird, lonely men. Which brings me to this really good news about Joe Biden in this poll that says 58% of women, which isn't surprising, favor Joe Biden. We keep getting all these negative polls out about how voters are enthused about Biden. He's too old. He's not viable as a candidate because of his age. And I always wonder, where are these women who think that it's a good idea to vote for Donald Trump, who just literally, it's been adjudicated against him that he's a rapist, and now he owes this woman $90 million. So what are you thinking about this poll? Any surprises for you?
A little, because Donald Trump has had such a strong following, it's been all sort of surprising. But it is really telling, I think, maybe a short shift. I think with some of the changes that we've seen with women's rights over the past, year or so, I think maybe has made it more real for women, because taking away certain rights from women, it doesn't matter what party you're in, our bodies are our bodies. And so I think that has made it very clear about where not only Donald Trump, but the Republican Party stands, as far as valuing us as beings. And so I think that it is an interesting poll. However, I'm not gonna lie, certain polls since the Trump Hillary, I am
suspect. The polls, we all are, right? We don't know.
Yeah. I'm like, let's just see.
Often.
Yeah, exactly.
They're often wrong, but it's so interesting, again, like the hypocrisy that we talked about in terms of these conspiracy theories. Republicans, when they get the polls that favor Donald Trump, they push and try to validate, those polls. But when the polls are the opposite, then we'll get the pushback in terms of what those polls really mean. But it's not surprising to me. I was just talking to my aunt about this morning. I think we've all gotten accustomed to saying nothing sticks to Trump, nothing matters. He just is like Teflon Don, but it's very clear that cumulatively from the allegations, the 91 criminal charges that he's nursing, this big verdict in E. Jean Carroll, these other multiple lawsuits that he's facing, both civil and criminal, there is a wearing effect. People are being worn out. There's a Trump fatigue that I think is setting in. People may not be as vocal about it as the MAGA, voices, but I just think folks are saying, like, really, that guy again? Like, what else do we have to hear? And that's what my answer is. I can't even listen to anything else from him or about him. So I hope that voters continue to be fatigued as we get closer to November, which by then we're going to even have more verdicts, potentially a criminal verdict. So it's just getting worse, not better for Trump. So I'm not surprised. I don't place a lot of stock in polls, but I think this really is mapping what we are seeing in voters. Particularly, I was at the reproductive justice tour with the vice president on Monday, and women are really ready to stand up for reproductive freedoms and justice. So when we come forward, we're going to talk about Fani Willis and what that means for, again, criminal lawsuit against Donald Trump, and what's happening in tech with kids committing suicide. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
The right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The CDC is warning of a syphilis resurgence nationwide with the highest number of cases since 1950. The CDC says more than 207,000 syphilis cases were reported in the U.S. in 2022, an 80% increase since 2018, which continues a decades-long trend. Blacks and Native Americans are the most impacted groups. A disproportionate number of cases are among men who have sex with men, but a quarter of the cases are now being diagnosed in women. Congenital syphilis passed along in utero to babies is also climbing. A federal trial that was scheduled to start next Monday over the newly redrawn Louisiana congressional map is now canceled. The hearing is now unnecessary since state lawmakers submitted the new map with a second majority Black district. Governor Jeff Landry signed the bill into law last week. The NAACP will let the court know by Tuesday if they find the map acceptable. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
South LA on the 110 South and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. That's a crash that's been cleared from the right lane over to the right shoulder. Going to see some slowing from Stadium Way. In Carson, 405 South connector to the southbound 110. That's a crash blocking the right shoulder of the connector road with traffic very slow from Wilshire Boulevard. In Sun Valley on the 5 North after Lancashire Boulevard, some road construction's got the 2 right lanes closed, and you're going to see some heavy traffic coming from Glen Oaks Boulevard.
Drought, war, and rising food prices have doubled the number of families facing malnutrition. You can help. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Some good news to report regarding the Jackie Robinson statue in Wichita, Kansas that was stolen and destroyed. More than 2,700 people have made donations on the GoFundMe page to help replace the statue. As of Wednesday afternoon, $133,000 has been donated to the cause. City officials in Wichita has set a goal of $150,000 to rebuild and display Jackie's statue. Jackie's statue was stolen on Saturday. Police found the statue on Tuesday, dismantled and burned. The statue had been on display since 2021 at McAdams Park in Wichita, home of the League 42 Youth Baseball League. Wichita police have intensified their search for the people who committed the crime. To make a donation, go to League 42 on Facebook. A statue of Jackie Robinson, Major League Baseball's first Black player, should always be protected and should always stand tall. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Got me a damn girl on my team.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe we have the best tag team in morning radio. Dominique DePrima and Tavis Smiley as the first Black woman in Los Angeles to anchor a morning drive talk radio show. Dominique covers local politics like a blanket. Weekday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., Dominique passes the baton to Tavis Smiley, who talks to everybody about everything every day until 12 noon. KBLA's dynamic duo, Dominique and Tavis. It's no wonder the LA Civil Rights Department is honoring Dominique DePrima this year at its Tell Our Story honoring Black journalist leaders and storytellers event, Thursday, February 8th. Or that the John M. Langston Bar Association of Los Angeles is honoring Tavis Smiley at its 47th annual Installation and Scholarship Awards Gala with its Community Impact Award on February 10th. We couldn't be more proud of Dominique and Tavis, who make Black history every day, not just in February. If you're missing Dominique and Tavis weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Holla, yeah.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and in this segment, I am joined by Lauren McKay. She is a 5-time Emmy Award-winning TV host, producer, and journalist. All right, Lauren, there was a contentious hearing on Capitol Hill today. Senate members of the Senate were excuse me. Jump in, Lauren. I'm having a moment here.
Yeah, take your time. Look, I'm like in church. You know, in church, they'd be like, it's all right, take your time.
Okay. I don't know what, got something in my throat, but anyhow, we're talking about this Senate hearing where they're yelling and screaming at these CEOs of these big tech companies, Discord, X, TikTok, Meta, Snap, and parents where they're very angry, talking about sexual exploitation, kids being bullied online, kids developing, eating disorders, self-harm, predatory marketing, and even families talking about their kids committing suicide because of their online usage. Now, there's a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. Josh Hawley from Missouri, senator, basically forced Mark Zuckerberg to turn around and to stand up and apologize to families. Lindsey Graham is shouting, you have blood on your hands. So a lot of theatrics about a really important topic, but unfortunately, the hearing ended with nothing really being resolved. And we know there's been no meaningful legislation moved through Congress related to regulating big tech ever. So what do you make of this?
It was a very powerful, touching hearing. To see parents, I mean, I can't even imagine seeing parents holding up those pictures while Mark Zuckerberg, ekes his way through an apology was powerful and very, very sad. I myself, I mean, I'm doing a social media cleanse for February. I'm like, I need a break. But the fact that there is no legislation. There's nothing being sort of moving the needle. We're just really having an angry session with no resolve. That to me is the most powerful, sad situation. And honestly, not to go too off the rails here, but it reminds me a lot of what we see every hearing with gun control. I mean, you see, it's wonderful that for this particular issue, it seemed relatively bipartisan connection with people being upset about children being sex trafficked and committing suicide. Do we not see the same connection with guns and school shootings? And why is this not, why are we not being moved to make change? And to me, from a journalistic perspective, I think this is a hard thing to say, but I think the reason is probably because there's benefit financially from it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, as a journalist, as a host, as someone who is on social media, and social media is a part of your job as a media personality, what's the solution here? Because when I think about it, I mean, the internet democratized information, right? So no longer did you need to have millions of dollars or thousands of dollars to take out an ad in the New York Times or Washington Post. If you had something to say, or if you have something to say, you post it on your own social media platform for free, have it disseminated to millions of people around the world. So that gave a lot of quote unquote little people an opportunity to have a very, very big voice and a big impact. But at the same time, you have billions of people now with not a lot of regulation, and not everyone on there is talking about, things that are healthy or wholesome or good. Lots of predators, as you said, sexual predators, lots of people preying on kids, their body image issues. I mean, some of the stories about kids developing anorexia and other eating disorders, very, very troubling. The online bullying. But if these bipartisan legislators could come together, what do you think should be the solution?
I think we're so far into this use of social media. Honestly, it really, part of it is parents and individuals taking responsibility and saying, all right, we're gonna have boundaries around this thing because it's consuming too much of our time and our mind space. So there's that on the individual space. But as far as legislators go, I think there's several things they can do. For example, with Airbnb and Uber, there is a verification that you have to have because they're paying you and you're making money. There's transactions, right? They're benefiting from you using that app. But not every old Joe can use that app. You got to have a license, you got to have certain things, and you got to verify that you are you. That same technology can be used to get on Instagram and to get on TikTok and all the other platforms. So that it wouldn't, do you still have creepy Uber drivers and creepy Airbnb hosts? Yeah, but has it reduced it a lot significantly? Absolutely. And so there's technologies like that. There's technology, there could be legislation about it gets sticky, but about bullying and mistreatment, defamation. This opens a whole new area of law. Is it defamation to slut shame somebody on IG, which stays on our records forever? It's not like, back in the day we had notes, you passed notes and that was it. You went home and, the notes were done. This follows kids. And so I think there are solutions. And I think it's just a matter of wanting to put that in place. And I think part of the fear is if they put these regulations in place, will people not want to use their platform, which then would hurt it all comes down to the dollar. It all comes down to the dollar.
It's all about the almighty dollar, and your analogy to gun control and gun rights issues, the opposition from those folks who say they have an absolute right to guns is so appropriate, because we have enacted legislation in this country that pretty much gives immunity to gun manufacturers. So we say hands off of gun manufacturers. Somebody can buy your AK 16 or rifle, or your assault rifle, take it into a school, kill 10, 15 kids, And you maybe can file a lawsuit against the school, maybe the police, they don't provide adequate, response, etc. But that gun manufacturer, for the most part, has been off limits, and that's because of historically the powerful NRA that has lobbied Congress to make sure that they didn't have any financial liability. And likewise, if you are Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and any of these, horrible situations happen, from sex trafficking to someone committing suicide or bullying, those big companies are, for the most part, immune from any kind of liability for what third parties put on those platforms. And there may have been an economic reason or a policy reason why to do that in the emerging days of social media, to give those companies an opportunity to flourish and to grow and not be worried too much about big lawsuits that can, close or shut a business down. But clearly we are way past that. And this notion that these companies should have no liability, that's something that I don't see why both the Republicans and Democrats can't come to some agreement on, like the gun manufacturers. If you put a gun out knowing that while you're targeting young men who are disturbed, who are watching violent videos, and it's reasonably foreseeable how they're going to use that gun, I don't see why we continue to shield those manufacturers. So I agree with you. These are problems that have solutions. They are not so big that there is no solution. It's just a matter of political will. And then that takes us back to those lobbyists, right? To those people that go to Congress and are able to use their financial resources to cause our senators and our congresspeople to vote in ways that protect their financial resources. So that just means that everyday people have got to be louder and have got to be more aggressive and more persistent than those really highly paid lobbyists, because the stories are horrifying, and it's our kids, and we do have an obligation to keep them safe. When we come forward, I want to talk about Fonnie Willis. Looks like she dodged maybe one bullet, but these subpoenas could spell trouble for this Fulton County District Attorney and her newly appointed special counsel. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? Because no two people sleep the same. Only the Sleep Number smart bed lets you each choose your individual firmness and comfort, your Sleep Number setting. The Climate 360 smart bed is so smart, it actively cools or warms up to 13 degrees on either side for your ideal sleep temperature. JD Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For JD Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
City of Los Angeles landlords that own rent-controlled properties, starting February 1st, you'll be able to increase rents by 4% for your rent-controlled properties. An extra 1% per utility, up to 6%, can be added only if you pay the entire gas and electric bill. And don't forget to give your tenant an advance 30-day written notice for rent increases of less than 10%. It is state law. Learn more about the rent increase at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org.
We're not just a thermometer recording and broadcasting popular opinion. Transforming the conversation about climate justice in our community. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. This year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen, plus a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black. Your Black.
All right, we are back, and Lauren McKay is joining me in this hour. So, Lauren, Fonnie Willis, at one point was heralded as this amazingly talented district attorney who had the guts and the courage to go after Donald Trump, who had to withstand all kinds of vitriol and hate and threats directed at her because she did charge Donald Trump. And recently, Fonnie is making headlines because one of the co-defendants in that RICO case, a guy by the name of Michael Roman, his lawyer filed a lawsuit yesterday seeking to disqualify Fonnie Willis and a gentleman by the name of Nathan Wade, who was appointed as a special prosecutor by Fonnie on the Trump RICO case. That attorney has issued subpoenas to force Fonnie Willis and Nathan Wade to testify at a February 15 hearing. And this hearing is going to be a hearing where this lawyer is going to try to have both Willis and Wade disqualified from continuing in the prosecution. And I'm sure they're going to make motions to have the whole case dismissed. The judge has ordered Fonnie Willis and Wade to respond to the subpoena. Fonnie has been pretty quiet about it. We know she spoke out about this briefly at a church service a week ago or so, but for the most part, we've not heard her respond to these allegations of a sexual or intimate relationship with Nathan Wade. And it looks like she maybe had dodged a bullet because Nathan Wade and his ex-wife settled their divorce proceeding, and Nathan Wade was going to have to testify in a deposition in that divorce, but since they've resolved all their issues, that deposition went off calendar. But here you have these new subpoenas, and Fonnie Willis and Nathan Wade are going to have to tell the world about their personal relationships, potential trips to the wine country and cruises. Now, from a legal standpoint, everyone pretty much agrees, most of us agree that under Georgia law, she has done nothing that disqualifies her from leading this prosecution, that there is absolutely positively no conflict because the alleged affair is with someone on her own side. It's not with someone on the opposite side or someone that's a witness to this matter. But there is this appearance, and we know appearances matter, and there's the effort for the MAGA crowd to magnify this and to make it a much bigger political deal than I think it is a legal deal. Although, obviously, if anyone was advising Fonnie, if she is having a relationship or did have one with Nathan, you would probably tell her, not the best time. But what are you making of how this is being spun in the media?
Well, one, I think we have landed in a Lifetime movie because it's like wait, we're talking about this couple's divorce, but I thought this was about Trump, which quintessential Trump. And just Republicans in general, like the switch up game is tight. I'm like, man,
I know. Even as I was saying that out loud, I was like, "Ooh, that's a lot to keep up with." But you're tracking, but it is confusing. A lot of different players, and it is quintessential Trump and MAGA. distract, distract, distract.
Exactly. Distracting. Here's the thing. I think with the divorce hearing, this case is so much bigger than this marriage, than whatever the divorce is happening. That's their personal issue. That's that. In one sense, it's great that, for now, Willis has sort of, escaped the having to testify. Because to me, that would be an even bigger distraction when they
Well,
have.
she may have to.
She may
on
have to.
February 15th at this hearing. She may try to file some motions to quash the subpoena, but as of now, though she has a real good defense as to why she shouldn't, they both may be under oath on February 15th.
Yeah. And I think that, look, Roman is the one who's the co-defendant who brought this up. He's looking for any sort of way to wiggle himself out of these charges. And I think he probably got whiffed of some hunch, because when he first brought their affair or whatever it was to light, his defense, there was no real evidence.
No.
Coming out of this, in those divorce documents, they've found that there could be this use of potentially improper funds with Wade getting paid and then spending flight tickets for both him and Willis for a flight, which is like, oof.
Which is going to be hard. Which, I want to make it clear. Clearly, Nathan Wade had a law practice. He's a former municipal judge. I doubt that this is his only case, and how they're going to be able to trace the dollars, say, from other clients and pinpoint that it was money from the Georgia, county's office, DA's office, that was used specifically to buy this ticket. That's going to be, I would imagine, close to impossible to do. And even if they could, proving some kind of intent that she purposely hired him so that he could get paid, so that he could then buy her a trip, is all very convoluted and, again, very difficult. The good news is she's not paying him. Her office is not paying Wade any more than any other special prosecutors. They all get about $250 an hour. The other good news is he's billed the county about $600,000. And that sounds like a big number, but it's a tiny number when you look at the number of hours he's had to spend. There are allegations that he wasn't qualified. I think that's bogus, because when you look at the success they've had, they got 4 plea deals. They have been able to prevent the case from being transferred to federal court, prevent the case from being dismissed, despite all these motions filed by Trump's team. And Trump's lawyers are probably getting $1,500 an hour compared to the $250. So I think the judge is going to be smart enough to understand that none of that per se disqualifies her. I think, though, I just hope the public appearance doesn't jump on the bandwagon, because we know how these things have a way of snowballing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's with you until they're not, right? And then you start getting even Democratic voices and women and others calling for her to step down, or now they're already calling for either her to step down or for him, or both.
I think and where I hope it goes, and where it sounds like it goes, to your point, because it is so far-fetched. I don't know the way his account is set up, but the way my account is set up, when I get paid, I get paid. And if I'm booking a trip, I'm booking a trip. So, I mean, I think it's going to be really hard to find impropriety or any sort of malpractice in a lot of ways. So I hope that it being so difficult to prove will signal to the public what is actually happening, how this is a switcheroo by Trump and his team, and how the real issue here is the real switcheroo that happened at the election. And I hope that after mid-February, we can get back to that case, because that's such an historical, impactful case that all of this is just, to me, confetti in the midst of, it's a smokescreen in the midst of the real issue.
And one that you would think Fonnie Willis, given her experience and stature, would have known that because of the historic nature of what she is doing, they were going to come after her with any and everything, try to sully her reputation, intimidate and harass her. She seems like she's up for it. I mean, she's human. She might have made a mistake in judgment. I don't think she may have said, I don't think there are any legal issues here, but judgment probably suggests that that wasn't the best relationship to be in. But hey, she has done something no one else in this country has done. And I'm standing by her. I'm standing with her and hoping, as you said, that we can get back to the real business, which is prosecuting these individuals that try to overthrow a legitimate election and subvert our democracy. That's what this is really about. And her desire, her efforts, her talent to hold them accountable, of course, is driving them crazy. I mean, that's what this is coming down to. And speaking of crazy, before I let you go, one of Trump's main advisors is telling Republicans, oh, just ignore all of the divisive rhetoric. Don't take it too seriously. He doesn't mean it when he says he's going to be a dictator on day one. He doesn't mean it when he says he's going to round up all Muslims and deport them. He doesn't mean any of this. Just keep writing those big checks and vote for him. Is that insulting to some super wealthy, educated, smart person for someone to say, ignore everything this person says and just vote for them?
Areva, I feel like
2 seconds. I didn't even realize we're out of time, but go ahead, give me 2 seconds.
I lose brain cells when I think about it, but if you're a public figure, if you're a public speaker, as you and I know, everything you say has meaning. Every word, every intonation, everything. So that means he is then unqualified for the position.
Well said, Lauren. Thank you so much. We are out of time. Again, 5-time Emmy Award-winning TV host, producer, and journalist. Thank you for joining me. When we come forward, more on that case in Georgia and the young man with the locks. How come he can't go back to school? And what does the NAACP Legal Defense Fund have to say about it? Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.